I'm here today to talk about what I think is one of the more forgotten phones this year, and it's going to sound crazy. You've probably already seen the title, the S22 Ultra. And it's funny because this phone right here, I'm actually excited to talk about it again. I've not had the opportunity to use it much lately, traveling around, going abroad, being out of the country for IFA and for lots of different things. I remember when I took this phone out of the package whenever I got it, right before I went to Barcelona for Mobile World Congress. And gosh, it is a beautiful phone. But the S22 Ultra, I think, is probably, if I had to give an award for best looking, most elegant looking phone of the year, this is it right here. This may indeed even be my phone of the year, which is kind of funny because I know it's got quite a ribbing from people, of course, because it's the Note 22 Ultra. And effectively it is. I mean, that's what Samsung did. They canceled the Note. They wanted to consolidate it. Honestly, if you take a look at the sales, so if you take a look at I think it was the S20 sales, there was about 20 million, 20 to 25 million basically if you take a look at the S20, S20 Plus, S20 Ultra. And then when you look at the Note 20 Ultra, it was less than 5 million sales. So on a sales by unit basis, the Note actually doesn't sell as well. So what they did is they've effectively replaced the fall sales lineup with the foldables, which of course we all like to go get those. I've got the Fold 4 right here, which I love eminently. It's a very good phone. And then they punted this. They punted effectively the Note 20 design. They changed it up a little bit. They gave us this more classic lens pop-out retro look, which I love this. I love the way this looks, by the way. And if you've seen the renders for the S23, I think it looks even better. But anyway, I'm going to try and stay on topic. So they punted this to the springtime, and they took over the true S20 Ultra spot. And it's the S22 Ultra. Yes, it's effectively, affectionately known as the Note 22 Ultra. So the phone itself led the way with the Snapdragon 8 Generation 1. And that was a big turning point, especially the 888 had some controversy around it, especially with the S21 Ultra overheating issues, the OnePlus 9 Pro epic overheating issues. They changed some things. And basically they kind of tweaked it, made a better processor, eliminated some of the heat issues, but also added more heat piping. And it's funny because there have been other phones that have had issues with the Snapdragon 8 Generation 1, but not this guy. It's been pretty much impervious because Samsung did such a good job. Now, you're probably wondering, I've been ranting for almost 3 minutes now. Why is it the forgotten phone? And it's funny because when you take a look at tech culture, I should call it the community of shiny. Like the shiny objects distract us every time there's a new phone. And of course, every time there's a new phone, the media cycle gets spun up. It's the best phone ever. It's going to be the best phone ever. It's the iPhone killer. Remember when everything used to be the iPhone killer? Everything was the iPhone killer because Android was trying so hard to compete on the same level. And then there was like the Samsung killer, which wasn't really as attractive because everybody kind of universally hated Apple, even though they universally bought the products. It's just a funny thing. So we're already almost a year into the life cycle of this phone, which is really crazy to say that. Came out in February. We're at March, April, May, June, July, August, September. We're on the verge of October right now. They're already talking about the Snapdragon 8 Plus Generation 2, or the 8 Generation 2, whatever in the world this fancy new processor is called. And the S23 is going to be one of the first ones to get it. They're talking about maybe even an earlier launch, which is funny because we already got into January territory with this guy. So leaks and rumors abound for the S23 Ultra, but when it comes to the S22 Ultra, man, it competes. And it's really set the standard for the entire year. And you always have to, you look at the Samsung phones. Samsung phones, they strike first, they strike hard, no mercy, all that good stuff. They're like the Cobra Kai of smartphones. And Apple always has the luxury of launching later in the year. They put out their phones once a year, and then they rest on their laurels and let their marketing and their campaign people and their software speak for itself. Samsung and Android are continually pumping out new phones. So the iPhone really doesn't compete with anybody. Let's just say, they don't compete with anybody, good, bad, or indifferent, and whatever. It's what they are. It's their own entity. But in Android, you got a lot of options. You got the Xiaomi's, you got the Pocos, you got the Redmi's, you got that. I'm going to name off a lot of international versions. You got Huawei, you've got Samsung, you've got Red Magic, you've got Asus, you've got OnePlus, you've got Google. You used to have LG. I mean, there's just so many. There's like a litany of Android manufacturers. But what rises above all of them, especially globally, these guys right here. They command the presence, the name. Samsung is synonymous with Android. This phone has basically been pristine. Usually phones have some sort of scandal, some sort of gate. There's the bend gate, there's the cracking gate, there's so many different gates. It's ridiculous every year, and usually they're associated with Apple. Of course, everybody likes to attach that gate name. Remember when they had the phone, I think it was the iPhone 6 Plus, the first one that was like supersized with the 5.5-inch screen, and it was doing the bending in people's back pockets, and I think that's where the gate kind of originated. But this one, we're so late in the year, nobody even talks about it anymore. The only reason anybody really talks about this phone anymore is when it comes to sales. When I've made a couple of videos telling you guys and gals about some great sales that it had, Samsung can't help themselves. They have to debase their products before the entire world and find ways to continually cut the prices to move them. Fortunately for them, they have great profit margins. So when you think you're getting a good deal, they're still usually making quite a bit of money. So this phone, whenever it came out, and I was really surprised because I didn't think the Burgundy was going to be as gorgeous as it was, and I kind of had second thoughts, but this white color is so pristine, so pure, and it looks so good with this flat finish on this phone. It is such a classic and sharp-looking phone that you don't hear about it anymore. You hear about everything else. You even hear about the S23. Of course, the foldables just came out, the new Flip 4, the new Fold 4. We move so often between these phone launches that once it's been a couple of months, it might as well be 2 years ago. You don't even hear about the phone anymore. In reality, the S22 Ultra is probably just about the best possible phone you can get. And that, best is always a qualifier. You have to put air quotes around it and say, okay, best. Well, who's it best for? I mean, if somebody's making $15,000 a year, probably not the best phone for them to go buy. But if you look at it from a cost and from a benefit perspective and just being able to get the best, highest tier, highest caliber, non-folding phone on the market with the best software support. And they've done something very, very quietly that a lot of people don't give them credit for. They have they've dethroned Google as the best and most reliable for software updates. If you take a look at the parallel track between Samsung Galaxy S22 and even their other phones and the Google Pixel lineup this last year, Samsung was more reliable, better software updates, less problems with their own software, and it came through like roses. It came through pretty much unscathed. There was a little rock in the beginning, but I don't even attribute that, and I don't think anybody attributes that to Samsung because it was Google's fault with the shoddy Android 12, which just was not good. Had a lot of problems, catastrophic problems for some developers. So if you're still in the market to get one, and this is not a sales ad, I'm not even talking about that, but if you're in the market to get one, top notch, Snapdragon 8 Generation 1, you get the 108 megapixel camera, and it's very relevant right now. And it's actually been kind of relevant in the social media scene for the last couple of days. Why? Because they're saying, okay, Jupiter is so close right now, the closest it's been in like 100 years or something like that. For those of you who live in your basements and want to come out and quote me on the exact number, go for it. I mean, sound off in the comments and tell me exactly what year, but you get the point. It's been a really long time, and the phone itself, everybody's not saying, I'm going to go grab my iPhone, which good luck taking a picture of any celestial body at night with that phone. The lens flare is terrible. But they're not saying I'm going to grab my Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV. They're not saying I'm going to go grab my Sony or my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4. They're not saying I'm going to go grab my Huawei. They're not saying they're going to go grab their Google Pixel 6 Pro. They're all saying they're going to grab their S22 Ultra. Why? Because it's got that 100 times zoom, 108 megapixel camera. You can reach out for days with this. And even my son remarked about it. My son loves this phone. He loves taking macro shots. He loves taking these long distance shots. And he was outside trying to get images of Jupiter. And it's cool. I mean, it brings science into the discussion and celestial bodies and space and things like that. And I'll see how many $5 words I can throw into this video. But it's hard to do. I don't script any of this. I just sit down and I talk. If anybody was ever wondering about the mystery behind the veiled podium here, like we get in The Wizard of Oz, I don't script anything. I have an idea. I want to talk about it. I sit down and then I talk. And hopefully it works out well for those of you who watch the video. But it's just something that's interesting. It popped back up into it. I'm like, you know what? Tonight's the night I'm going to talk about this because this is, I think, just about the best phone. I think this is the best Samsung phone ever made. I will stand by that. I think this is the best Samsung phone ever made. I think it's definitely the best Note ever made. And they did such a good job with it. Excellent video capabilities. Probably the best microphone setup you can get in a phone. You get the wonderful and delightful S Pen, which of course has the air gestures. It also has the ability to use it for a shutter, switch the cameras, all those great things. Probably the best looking screen in a phone you could ever get. And it's funny, a lot of people have been saying, oh, well, Samsung can't even put the best screens in their phone because everybody's riding the coattails of Apple right now with the iPhone 14 launch and the 14 Pro. Yeah, it's nice. You get up to 2,000 nits maximum, peak brightness with HDR on the phone. But here's the thing. The screen that is in this phone is like a year older than the screen that's in the iPhone. So I'm pretty certain when the new Samsung phone comes out, we could probably imagine that it will have a better screen with the higher peak brightness and all that jazz than the iPhone. And then they can resume their position, and people who don't realize that this iPhone comes out like a year later, that might be why there's a newer screen. So also priorities. There's not really a big difference between like 1800 nits brightness and 2000, and you hardly ever see it. So this phone, again, I think it's probably the best non-foldable phone this year, and they've nailed the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor we have on here. I even unlocked it there. It does a great job, super accurate. They've developed this technology over the years. They're not, stuck with the optical fingerprint sensor, don't have the problems associated with that like the Google Pixel phones have been having. And I think the best selfie camera in any flagship phone as well. They nail the selfie. They nail the primary camera. The only thing that I really don't like about using a Samsung phone is the shutter lag. And the shutter lag is very annoying. So I'll pull the camera up. Shutter lag, what we're talking about here is when you press the button and the time between, oh, it's got a timer right now. It would help if I didn't have a timer on there. So when you press the button, it doesn't instantaneously take the photo. You see what's going on here? There's a lag, there's a delay behind it. And that's something that as tech reviewers, most of us are kind of irritated with. Maybe general population, normal folks may not think about it that much, but it's there. It's been there for years, and we'd like them to fix it. So Samsung, if you watch this video and you still decide not to send me a phone, which is totally cool, I'll continue to buy them. Just kind of joking around right there. But if Samsung were to watch this and they would go, yeah, crazy Tech Odyssey said we need to fix the shutter lag at the next board meeting, and they laugh while they drink their macchiatos. I don't know if that's ever going to change. But if it ever does change, that will definitely change the idea of what people think about this camera in the court of popular opinion. So, yeah, just about as good a phone as you can get. Top notch. It's sad that we're not talking about this phone anymore, and maybe some people in some circles are, but there have been so many releases between there, so many different shiny moments and new devices that have come out, and the narrative is already on the S23 that's going to come out a couple of months from now, which of course I'll get that, I'll cover it, all those great things. And if you're watching this on the S22 Ultra right now, you can probably relate. It's a great phone. And definitely the Burgundy came out looking a lot more like a Grappa or a more like a Merlot color almost than the pink color it looked like in the marketing materials, which is fine. I don't have a problem with pink. But when you talk about Burgundy, I expect more of a deeper color when we get to that red color, and it just didn't look like it was there in the marketing materials, so I went with the white. And it was such a contrast between real life and what happened in the real world. I even went to Best Buy and I put the phone side by side with the Burgundy one so I could tell folks, hey, buy the Burgundy one. It's beautiful. It's a great looking phone. So that's it. I'm going to wrap this one up. I just wanted to talk about it and talk about the phone. And that's one of the things I like here on my channel. It's not always, okay, everything has the word review attached to it, or I'm not stuck here sitting talking about specs. I like to have discussions. And it's kind of like a two-way conversation and exchange here. Of course, the communication on the opposite end is you guys can leave comments and things like that, which are great because then we can have a discussion, and I like to do that. And if I don't get to all of them, I apologize. The reality is I have like 1,600 videos out in the YouTube ether and get a lot of views, and there's a lot of comments on a daily basis. And I spend hours a day replying to comments, and I wish I could reply to every single one of them. Unfortunately, I can't always do that. And then also, as they pop in is how I kind of reply to them. So if you do leave a comment, I greatly appreciate it. I love it. It's not just for engagement. I'm a big tech nerd. I love talking about phones. Maybe you can kind of sense the enthusiasm when I make these videos on a daily basis. It does hurt my feelings. I wish I could respond to each and every one of you. Unfortunately, I cannot. But please, if you enjoy the video, leave a comment. And the things that you like about it, the things you want to talk about. And of course, if you like the videos, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. That's great too. I'd love to have you come back, be a part of this community. That way we can maybe interact on a more regular basis. So that's all I got. me and the forgettable phone are going to ride off into the sunset. I'm going to get out of my Captain America chair here and go grab a Pepsi. But thanks for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Really means a lot to me. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it and enjoyed this video. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.